Replacing you seemed like a simple choice at first. A clean break. An easy fix for whatever discomfort your presence brought. It made them feel powerful, in control, like they could erase you from the narrative with the flick of a pen. The air was heavy with self-congratulations, smug grins, and the false sense of victory. But power doesn't work that way, and the game you play is never that simple. Decisions made in haste have consequences, and the echoes of yours linger long after you've left. You knew your absence would cost them more than they could ever predict. The first cracks appear quietly, so subtly that no one notices at first. Maybe it's a missed opportunity, or a whisper of doubt that curls around their minds. But cracks have a way of spreading, of widening into chasms that swallow even the strongest of foundations. Replacing someone like you comes with a price, a toll that isn't always paid in one fell swoop, but slowly, excruciatingly. It's a realization that creeps in, that gnaws at their confidence and erodes the illusions they built to replace you. You knew they'd regret it, and now the show begins. They believed the void you left could be filled, that your impact was replaceable. But your presence was more than just a role. It was a force that reshaped everything around you. You were the unpredictable storm, the shadow that kept everything in balance. Without you, there's a slow unraveling, a descent into chaos that even their best-laid plans can't contain. They tried to patch the holes with empty substitutes, but the essence you brought can't be replicated. Every new attempt is a reminder of what's missing, a ghost of what used to be. Watching them stumble is a twisted kind of justice, a poetic unraveling that makes you smile in the darkness. They don't realize at first that you were the glue holding everything together, the silent architect of order. The replacements lack your finesse, your ruthless brilliance, the way you played the game with a grace that no one else could master. Soon, it's not just the cracks, it's entire pieces, breaking away, like a puzzle, slowly disintegrating. You knew this day would come. You knew that by the time they realized the cost, it would be far too late. The new faces wear masks of confidence, trying to pretend that everything is fine. But masks crack, and the rot beneath becomes impossible to hide. One by one, things fall apart, projects fail, deals collapse, loyalty evaporates like mist. The realization strikes like a cold, merciless blade. You weren't just another player in their game. You were the one who kept it all from descending into madness. Regret grows, twisting around them like vines, suffocating, relentless. And you watch from the shadows, a villain whose victory is etched in their suffering. Regret is a fascinating poison. It works slowly, a venom that doesn't kill instantly but lingers, festers, drives people to madness. They chose to replace you, to underestimate what your presence meant. And now they are haunted by what they've lost. The whispers start, conversations in dark corners, questions about how things used to run so smoothly, so flawlessly, when you were in charge. The whispers turn to shouts, to accusations. The empire you left behind begins to eat itself alive, and all they can do is wonder how they let it come to this. Vindication is a dark pleasure, and you savor it. Watching them try to undo the damage, to scramble for control, is a show more entertaining than any script could ever deliver. They don't know what to do, how to fix what's been shattered. Panic sets in, and desperation follows. But your absence is a void they can't fill, a shadow they can't chase away. They're trapped in the chaos they created, a consequence they never saw coming. Regret consumes them, but by now, it's carved too deep to reverse. It's a wound that won't heal. The replacements crumble under pressure, under the weight of trying to live up to what you once were. They never stood a chance. The difference between you and them becomes a chasm too wide to bridge, a fact that everyone eventually has to face. What they tried to replace was irreplaceable. The power, the intellect, the vision. You brought something unique, something that can't be taught or mimicked. And as the structure collapses, you remain untouchable, the one who walked away and left them with their regret. It's a satisfaction laced with darkness, but satisfaction nonetheless. People who thought they could live without you are now prisoners of their own decisions. Their arrogance, their pride, has backfired spectacularly, and you watch as their empire crumbles, piece by painful piece. There's no need for revenge when reality is punishing them far better than you ever could. You knew all along that this day would come, that their regret would be your greatest triumph. There's a dark wisdom in choosing peace over obsession, in deciding that your sanity is worth more than untangling the twisted web of someone else's motives. People crave explanations, think they need to dissect every betrayal, every loss, as if understanding will somehow ease the pain. But the mind is a labyrinth, one that traps those who wander too far into the past. Some truths are poisoned apples, tempting to taste but deadly to consume. Letting go isn't weakness, it's self-preservation. The strongest are those who walk away from what no longer serves them, even when the echoes of unanswered questions try to pull them back. The greatest villains know when to release, when to leave the ghosts of old battles behind. Clinging to the past is a weakness, a flaw that the powerful cannot afford. The world is full of people who spend their lives haunted by events they cannot change, chasing phantoms that only leave them exhausted and broken. But you're not like them. You choose your battles carefully, understanding that some wars are fought best by simply walking away. Letting go is a weapon too, a shield that protects you from the madness of overthinking, from the chaos that tries to consume your mind. Peace is a luxury that few dare to claim. The world glamorizes vengeance, paints it as a form of justice, but revenge is a never-ending spiral. It feeds on itself, growing darker, more desperate. Your peace, on the other hand, is an act of rebellion. It's a declaration that no one and nothing has the power to disturb your inner calm. Letting go isn't surrender. It's the ultimate flex. It's choosing yourself over the noise, over the voices that try to drag you into the pit. You let the chaos swirl around you, but never let it inside. That kind of strength terrifies people. There's an art to detachment, a mastery in knowing when to cut ties, when to leave unanswered questions hanging in the air like unfinished symphonies. People expect you to dwell, to seek closure, to demand explanations. But your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. The peace you found in letting go is a fortress, one that no enemy can breach. While others drive themselves mad with what-ifs and endless scenarios, you move forward, unburdened. Letting go becomes an anthem, a silent song of defiance. It is not forgetting. It is choosing to remember without being consumed. Watching them squirm for your reaction is a dark delight. They expect rage, expect you to fight for answers, to waste your energy trying to understand their betrayals. But you've learned that sometimes the greatest act of strength is to walk away, to let the past rot where it stands. Seeking understanding often leads to more suffering, more knots that will never be untangled. You've seen it happen, watched as people destroy themselves, trying to make sense of the senseless. You chose a different path, one that leaves your enemies baffled and powerless. Every trigger, every annoyance is a mirror that reflects back the darkest corners of the soul. The flaws we see in others often illuminate the wounds we carry, the insecurities that live beneath the surface. People rarely admit this, choosing instead to point fingers, to cast blame, as if by hating someone else, they can avoid facing their own shadows. But the wise, the truly dangerous, know that irritation is an invitation, a whispered challenge to look inward and confront the monsters lurking there. Each grudge, each flash of anger is a clue, a map to the heart of what haunts you. Understanding oneself is a game most are too afraid to play. It's easier to despise, to project pain outward rather than peel back the layers and face what festers within. But there is a villainous strength in self-awareness, in seeing irritation as a lesson rather than a curse. What we hate in others often reveals our deepest fears, our most shameful desires, our unhealed wounds. The ones who know this, who can face the darkness within, are those who rise above the rest. They become masters of their own chaos, unshakable, unstoppable, and utterly self-possessed. Power lies in embracing the parts of yourself that irritation reveals. Most flee from their flaws, deny them, hoping to present an unblemished facade. But to confront what bothers you, to understand why it strikes such a raw nerve, is to strip away the illusions. It's a dangerous path, one that few have the courage to walk. Because once you understand yourself fully, the opinions of others become irrelevant. Their attempts to hurt you fall flat. Their judgments lose their sting. You become immune, untouchable, a force of nature no one can manipulate or control. Seeing others for what they are, a reflection, a lesson, gives you an edge. You no longer get pulled into their games, no longer react with blind emotion. The hatred or irritation they spark in you becomes a tool, a weapon you use to grow stronger, more aware. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. There's a twisted brilliance in the realization that control is an illusion. People think they hold power over others, that by stripping away options, limiting choices, they can break a spirit. But the most dangerous minds understand that even when stripped bare, even when beaten down to the rawest of their essence, the choice remains. Attitude is the unbreakable jewel, a treasure no prison can contain. You could shackle a body, silence a voice, crush bones under the weight of oppression, but the will to choose one's own response, that flame never dies. Circumstances bend the weak, crush those who surrender to despair. But for those who understand the art of defiance, every setback becomes a stage, every struggle a performance. The world can take everything: wealth, reputation, loved ones, but it can never dictate how you react. That power is yours and yours alone. It's the final act of rebellion, the ultimate display of strength, to smile in the face of ruin, to laugh at the chaos swirling around. People expect defeat, expect you to crumble, but the villainous joy lies in subverting those expectations. Choice is a weapon, sharper than any blade, deadlier than any bullet. Choosing your attitude in the face of adversity is a declaration of war. The world can throw its worst, but those who wield this freedom remain unbowed. There's a sinister satisfaction in refusing to let circumstances dictate your state of mind, in becoming an unmovable force. This is where true power lies, not in the external, but in the unshakable core, the unbreakable will. While others whimper and bow, you stand tall, eyes blazing, unafraid of whatever comes next. Imagine the confusion, the frustration of those who try to crush a spirit, only to find their efforts have the opposite effect. Every attempt to control, to dominate, only adds fuel to the fire of someone who understands that freedom is a choice. You choose your path, even if it's littered with obstacles, even if it leads through darkness and destruction. People cannot fathom this strength, this unwavering resolve. It's the stuff of nightmares for those who wish to subdue. It's a lesson carved in shadow and steel. No one controls you but you. People cling to external things, thinking they define freedom. But the real masters, the ones who cannot be tamed, have long discarded that illusion. They know that freedom is internal, an unassailable fortress built from the inside out. It's the decision to remain calm when the world is burning, to find humor in tragedy, to choose courage when fear wants to reign. This power is subtle, unseen, and infinitely more effective than any visible armor. People try to strip you of it, but they never understand that it's not something they can grasp or take away. The true villains of this world are those who understand the freedom of choice and wield it mercilessly. When faced with betrayal, loss, or defeat, they choose not to bow, not to break. Instead, they choose vengeance, or perhaps indifference, or even forgiveness. Not because they call sauce and essence, they are forced to, but because they command their own destiny. To wield this kind of freedom is to hold a godlike power, a defiance that others cannot match. Watching as the world tries and fails to bend you is a dark delight, a symphony of shattered expectations. Even when everything is taken, when you're stripped of pride, stripped of comfort, the decision remains. It's an irony that people never see coming, that when they think they've won, you have the power to turn defeat into a new beginning. The freedom to choose isn't just a consolation prize. It's the ultimate trump card. People can control events, but they can't dictate how you play your hand. And the most ruthless players know that a smile in the face of ruin is more terrifying than any outburst of rage. Watching others crumble under pressure, surrendering to despair, is a grim reminder of why this freedom is so precious. The world respects force, but it fears those who cannot be forced into submission. A mind that chooses its own way is a fortress, a citadel that no one can storm. People whisper about unbreakable spirits, about legends who rise from the ashes, but few understand the essence. The quiet, invisible choice to keep moving forward, to transform suffering into power. You become a ghost that haunts their victories, a reminder that they never truly won. Enemies can tear down everything you've built, think they've destroyed you. But there's an unspoken dread when they realize you're still standing, still smiling. That kind of defiance haunts them, makes them question their own strength. They thought they could break you, but they never understood what real freedom is. The look in their eyes when they realize you are still in control is priceless. The choice is yours, always has been. Stop romanticizing people who mistreat you. People wrap their abusers in poetry, paint their tormentors with strokes of tragic beauty, as if giving suffering a reason will soften the sting. It's a twisted illusion. one that turns pain into something noble, as if cruelty gains purpose when draped in affection. Romanticizing mistreatment is an act of self-sabotage, a slow poisoning of the spirit. Those who hurt you don't do so because of some cosmic destiny or poetic flaw. They do so because they choose to, because they gustan a la de cras. They feed on the power it gives them. There is nothing beautiful about betrayal, nothing redemptive about pain inflicted for pleasure. There's a darkness in forgiving monsters who know they've wounded you. The world whispers that forgiveness is noble, that seeing the good in those who mistreat you is an act of strength. But some wounds are not lessons. Some scars are not poetry. Mistreatment should never be romanticized, never turned into a love story where suffering is the cost of passion. Those who hurt, you know the damage they've caused, and dressing that damage up in soft words only gives them permission to hurt again. There's power in acknowledging the ugliness, in stripping the pain of its pretty disguise. Attachment to pain is a chain that holds you in place, a shackle made of sweet lies. People love to say they hurt you because they were hurt, or they were broken, and that's why they broke you. But no amount of understanding can excuse repeated mistreatment. Excuses turn cruelty into something bearable, but bearable does not mean acceptable. There is no valor in staying loyal to those who drain you. Their wounds are not your responsibility. Your only duty is to protect your own heart, to guard your spirit from those who find joy in seeing you suffer. Letting go is an act of rebellion. Walking away from someone who mistreats you is often painted as cold or heartless. They tell you to stay, to keep loving, to be the bigger person. But there is nothing big about shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's comfort. Leaving is an act of self-love, a declaration that you will not be anyone's emotional punching bag. It's not a failure to stop trying. It's a triumph to know your worth. People who mistreat you will never change because of your suffering. They change only when they can no longer feed on your pain. Some find a perverse joy in watching you romanticize their mistreatment, knowing they've made a home in your mind, knowing they haunt you. It's a game to them, a game they win. Each time you forgive and forget, each time you tell yourself a beautiful lie about their behavior. But you are not a character in a tragedy written for someone else's pleasure. You are not here to endure, to suffer quietly, while hoping for a happy ending that will never come. The moment you stop romanticizing, the moment you strip away the poetry from their cruelty, is the moment you become untouchable. The world has taught you to love your abusers, to make excuses for them, to see their humanity while they strip yours away. But there is no nobility in loving what harms you. There is only power in loving yourself more, in choosing to walk away. People who mistreat you want you to believe that leaving them is an act of betrayal. They paint themselves as victims of your strength, as if your self-respect is an attack on their character. But your heart is not theirs to wound at will, and your spirit is not theirs to break. Some relationships are poison, but the world likes to disguise poison as passion. They love hard, people say. They care too much. But love should not leave bruises, should not taste of tears and regret. The act of romanticizing mistreatment is a form of self-betrayal, a way to justify the unjustifiable. The heart wants what it wants, but the mind knows better. Your mind has always known, has always whispered that this kind of love is false, that no amount of romantic fantasy can make up for the cold reality of abuse. There is a special kind of freedom in realizing that your value isn't tied to how much pain you can endure. Your strength isn't measured by your ability to keep loving someone who breaks you. Letting go of someone who mistreats you is the ultimate act of defiance, a declaration that you are more than a receptacle for someone else's darkness.